Hello, good morning. My name is Angeli Juliana Convita Agudelo. This is research project course. This is the last task, oral defense, task 4. And this is my research project using ICT as a didactic tool in online environments to encourage the learning of a foreign language in students. Universidad Nacional Abierta a Distancia. Let's start. So about the datasheet, we have the type of paper is a research project. Research line is a qualitative experimental methodology. Author, it was made by me, Angeli Juliana. The advisor or the tutor is Egner Suarez Alomia. Some keywords that we found are IC tools, skills, vocabulary, reading, speaking, listening, motivation. So, first of all, we have the statement of the problem. During my experience in my previous academic semesters and pedagogical practice courses, I could notice many things during my practice. And one of those problems that most um, captivated my attention was the lack of motivation on the part of the students. I realized that when I was observing some classes, so I could realize that the lack of motivation was and is one of the most important problems during the students' process when they are learning a language. And what had led me to think as a teacher, how could improve this problem from my position? So this is really relevant factor since many students tend to um, miss some classes because of the motivation. So that's the problem that I found the most relevant. Well, related to the objective, we have the general objective that is to assess the impact of ICT as a didactic tool on the development of language skills, including listening, speaking, reading, and writing, all the skills in online foreign language education. That is pretty important. On the other hand, we have a specific objective. One of the specific is implement ICT as a tool of the application of didactic unit and motivate students in learning, teaching, um, in a foreign language. Offer personalized education that encourages students or encourages students engagement, units, and cooperation while enhancing instruction and of the educational system. And we also have the literature review that this is pretty important for our project, for our research. Why? Because these are some authors' research as references and support for this investigation. So that's the reason why it's pretty important. And I took into account three factors: the use of ICT, motivation, and the purpose that we look for the information. So in the part of the use of ICT, we have Muñoz Perez and Cubo Delgado, 2019. Initially, they focus the author's objective, which were the use of ICT plays an important role in class and as a teachers, and develop appropriate material is also important. On the other hand, we have motivation. We have Gardner and Lambert, 1959. Their main objective were to identify their different type of motivation in foreign language learning. That is really important. It's also important to identify the type of motivation. In that way, we can know how and we help our students. And on the other hand, we have we have to examine the relationship between motivation and outcomes in foreign language learning. It's also important. And we have purpose. We have Donji. The purpose of this research were to understand the nature of motivation in language learning, to identify the factors that influence motivation and in the language learning. The methodology used for this investigation, we have the methodology, the data types, population and sample, and the data collection instruments. The methodology for this research, we used mixed approaches. This type of approach combines quantitative and qualitative method. So this is pretty important to have clear that. The data type, we have the qualitative survey will that collect the the following these following variables like level of motivation, experience in English learning, personal opinion regarding ICT in class. So these personal or opinions are from some students. So the opinions are important to know. The opinions are important to know the how they feel about the ICT in applied in class. Okay. Well, okay, sorry. Okay. On the other hand, we have population and sample. We have first semester students taking English course one, taking the English course one, where I started to my practice. And on the other hand, we have the data collection. The present study was carried out by a sample of three first level students in the UNAD University. Um, Participants completed online survey, and that allowed me to um, take the results and analyze the results regarding to the opinions of students. Finally, we have the results. The results has can be seen in the results provided by the survey implemented to the students. The majority of them are students perhaps with a low or intermediate level of English, but maybe they don't have the time or the great motivation for learning because the hours of practice have shown in the statistics the we can see the lack of motivation because of the time because they don't have enough time, so we have to take into account the ages, so most of the students are so that's the reason why they don't tend to attend the class as they should has attend. And the simple time that they dedicate to practicing their skills is another important thing to analyze according to the results. Regarding to the discussion, according to the result, it's easy to conclude that students need a more meaningful education to improve teaching process since according previous experiences as a teacher in training, because they show low levels of interest in online learning. Maybe they are tired because most of the time they have to attend online classes. So maybe that's the reason why, which causes that students perform poorly in these required courses. This suggests that learning a foreign language can be an exciting experience depending on the interest that the students have and how creative the teacher is to achieve that goal. Based on this result, the following recommendations from my perspective can be made for teachers, are avoid practices that compare students, encourage practice in a safe environment, so the environment is really important, and provide a constructive feedback. Is also important for students to know their weaknesses and promote the student motivation. Teacher can help students stay motivated. So the conclusions, the findings of this story have an important implication for foreign language teaching and learning for sure. Teachers should consider the motivation uh, a great stimulation has an important factor in foreign language learning to promote, as I said at the beginning, to promote motivation. Teachers can help students set realistic goals, so that's important. That's an important thing. Realistic goals, in the way that they can achieve that, in the way that they can achieve them. Um, and one more conclusion could be the findings of this story can help teachers create a more positive and effective learning environment for the students, for their students. These are the references. Thank you so much.